My wife left for Myrtle Beach on a Thursday. By Sunday, I had a divorce attorney on retainer. She doesn't know it yet. She's still posting Instagram stories from what she thinks is a girls' weekend. Cocktails by the pool, sunset walks on the beach. Meanwhile, I'm back home in Charlotte with a folder full of evidence that's going to end our marriage. I'm Brady Fisher, 36 years old, union electrician, local 379. Been pulling wire and running conduit for 14 years now. Got my contractor's license 3 years back. I clear about 95 grand a year with overtime and weekend jobs. Good money for what I do. My wife Jenna works as an office manager at a law firm in uptown Charlotte. Makes around $48,000. Between the two of us, we do all right. Nice house in Concord we bought 2 years ago. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, quarter-acre lot. The kind of neighborhood where people wave when they're mowing their lawns. We vacation once a year if we plan ahead. Outer. Banks usually. Sometimes Gatlinburg if we want mountains instead of beach. The kind of life where you're not stressing about bills, but you're not buying jet skis either. We met 4 years ago at a Panthers tailgate. My buddy Travis had extra tickets. She came with a girl from her yoga class. We ended up talking through the whole first quarter. Started dating that week. Married about 18 months later. We did the small wedding thing at her parents' church in Matthews. Her dad walked her down the aisle. I thought we were building something solid. First couple years were good. We bought the house together, both our names on the mortgage. That's gonna matter later. She said she wanted to wait on kids, said we had time, said she wanted to travel a little first. I didn't push it, figured she knew what she wanted. Looking back, there were signs I missed. She never wanted to talk about the future beyond next month's vacation or next year's bonus. I would bring up stuff like where we'd be in 10 years, maybe starting a family, saving for retirement. She would get this look, change the subject, start talking about work drama or some show she was watching. I thought she was just living in the moment. Turns out she wasn't planning a future with me at all. She was waiting for something better to come along. The girls' trip started in year 2. Her college friends from App State. Once a year at first. Long weekend in Asheville. I didn't think nothing of it. Everyone needs time with their people. But once a year turned into twice. Then 3 times. Then there was always something. Wine tour in the mountains. Beach house rental at Folly. Bachelorette party for some girl I'd never heard of. I added it up once. She was gone at least 6 weeks a year. I said something about it. She got defensive. Called me controlling. Said her friends' husbands didn't have a problem with it. Said I should trust her. So I backed off. Here's what I didn't know. About 6 months into our marriage, Jenna met somebody. She was at some office management conference in Raleigh. Continuing education thing, she said. Met him at the hotel bar after the sessions. His name was Cole Andrews. Regional sales director for some medical equipment company. 44 years old. Made around $220 a year plus bonuses. Married with twin boys back in Greensboro. None of that stopped either of them. They started texting, then calling, then meeting up whenever they could. He traveled constantly for work, different cities every week. She would tell me she was going somewhere with the girls. Then she would drive to wherever he was. Asheville, Myrtle Beach, sometimes Atlanta. And I would be home thinking my wife was having drinks with her sorority sisters. For almost 2.5 years, every girl's trip was a cover. She would tell her friends she couldn't make it. Tell me she was going with them. They had it all worked out. I was paying for her gas to go sleep. With another man. But I had no clue. This trip was supposed to be Myrtle Beach. 4 days. Her college crew. She asked me for $1,500 for her share of the beach house rental. I didn't question it. Kissed her goodbye Thursday morning. Told her to drive safe. She said she'd text when she got there. Said she loved me. All lies. By Thursday night, something felt off. I hadn't heard from her since she left. Around 11, I got a text. Service is spotty here, having fun, love you. That was it. Something about it didn't sit right, but I let it go. Figured beach service was always hit or miss. Friday. I'm at a job site in Huntersville, running 220 for a new HVAC unit. My phone buzzes during lunch. Text from Travis. Thought your wife was with you this weekend? Attached was a picture from his girlfriend's Instagram story. 4 women with drinks on a restaurant deck. Ocean in the background. I recognized all of them. Jenna's whole college crew. But my wife wasn't in the picture. I looked twice, checked every face. She wasn't there. The location tag said Myrtle Beach. Her friends were at the beach without her. I called Travis back, asked him what was up with the picture. He said his girl Ashley was confused too, said she thought all 5 of them were supposed to be there together. But when she asked Brooke about it, Brooke said Jenna had to cancel last minute. Something came up with work, but Jenna told me she was going with them, and she told them she wasn't coming at all. She lied to everybody, which meant she was somewhere she didn't want anyone knowing about. I pulled up our joint credit card account on my phone. Chase Sapphire we both use for everything. No charges in Myrtle Beach, nothing at any beach house rental. But there was a charge from that morning. Harrah's Cherokee Casino Resort, $368, posted at 10:15 a.m. While I was pulling wire in some stranger's attic, my wife was charging breakfast at a casino 4 hours west. I called the resort, said I was trying to reach a guest, gave them her name. They said they couldn't confirm whether anyone by that name was staying there. Privacy policy. I tried her maiden name, same answer. But that told me something. If she wasn't there at all, they'd just say no guest by that name. The fact that they wouldn't confirm or deny meant she was probably there. I thanked them and hung up. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes. Engine running, AC on, thinking. Part of me wanted to pretend I never saw any of this. Just go back to work. Let her come home Sunday. Never bring it up. Some guys do that. They'd rather live with the lie than deal with the truth. I'm not that guy. Never have been. I told my foreman I had a family emergency. He didn't ask questions, could probably see it on my face. Got in my truck. Cherokee's about 3.5 hours from Charlotte. I made it in 3. Didn't stop except for gas. Just drove and thought about what I was going to find. When I got to the casino, I parked and walked into the lobby, went straight to the sports bar where I could see the elevators and the main entrance. Ordered a beer I didn't touch, and I waited. About an hour later, I saw her. She came out of the elevator with some guy, tall, gray at the temples, expensive polo shirt. They were laughing about something. His hand was on the small of her back. They walked right past the bar toward the main restaurant. They didn't see me. I got up and followed them. Caught up to them right at the hostess stand. I tapped her on the shoulder. She turned around. The look on her face was everything I needed to see. Pure panic. She actually took a step back. The guy looked confused at first, like I was some stranger interrupting his romantic weekend. Then he saw Jenna's face. Then he knew. My wife started saying my name, asking what I was doing there, like I was the one who needed to explain myself. The guy took another step back, didn't say a word, just stood there looking like he wanted to disappear into the carpet. I didn't say much either, just looked at her, looked at him, took a good long look. Then I told her not to come home, turned around and walked out of the restaurant. She chased me through the lobby, calling my name, saying it wasn't what it looked like. Her and some married man about to have dinner at a casino resort 4 hours from home. But sure, it wasn't what it looked like. I kept walking, got in my truck and drove home. 3.5 hours, alone, no music, didn't call nobody. Just drove and planned. Somewhere around Statesville I had to pull over. I was shaking so bad I couldn't keep the truck straight. Sat in a McDonald's parking lot for 20 minutes, just breathing. I wasn't sad, not yet. That came later. Right then I was angry. The kind of angry that's cold, the kind that makes plans. Here's where most guys screw up. They confront, they yell, they make threats. Then they go home and do nothing. Meanwhile, the wife calls a lawyer, files first, controls the narrative, takes the house, takes half of everything. And he's paying alimony while she's still seeing the other guy. I wasn't going to be that guy. I got home around midnight. I didn't sleep. Started looking things up on my laptop. North Carolina isn't a pure no-fault state. That's important. Some states don't matter why the marriage ended. California, New York. Doesn't matter if she cheated. Assets get split 50-50. Alimony gets calculated based on income. Everybody moves on. But North Carolina's different. You can file based on fault. Adultery is one of the grounds they recognize. And here's the part that matters. Under North Carolina law, if you prove adultery and that it caused the separation, the court can deny alimony to the cheating spouse, not reduce it, deny it completely. But you have to prove it, and you have to prove the adultery happened before separation. In my case, I literally caught her at a casino with another man. That's about as clear as it gets. Jenna made $48,000 a year. I made $95,000. Without proof of adultery, I'm probably looking at $1,500 a month in spousal support for years. But with proof, she gets nothing. So I needed documentation, not just what I saw at the casino. Any lawyer could try to spin that as some innocent explanation. I needed the kind of evidence that doesn't leave room for doubt. Monday morning, I called a lawyer. Woman named Dana Reynolds. Been doing family law in Charlotte for 25 years. Told her what happened. She said first thing was not to change the locks on the house. That surprised me. She said in North Carolina, you can't lock your spouse out of jointly owned property without a court order. Doesn't matter what they did. The house is in both names. She has a legal right to be there. If I change the locks, it could hurt my case later. She said what I should do is stay in. Do is the house and let Jenna figure out where she wants to go. Most cheaters don't want to come back and face their spouse anyway. She was right about that. Next thing I did was hire a private investigator. Dana referred me to a guy named Shane Murphy, ex-Charlotte PD. Had his own shop in South Charlotte, $1,500 to get started. I wrote him a check that day, gave him everything I had, the credit card charge, the confrontation at the casino, timeline of every girl's trip she'd taken in the past 2 years. He said he'd have something within a week. He had it in 5 days. When I went to pick up the report, he handed me a folder about an inch thick. He said in 20 years of doing this, he'd seen a lot of affairs. Said mine was one of the more organized ones he'd come across. They had patterns, routines, almost like a second marriage running parallel to ours. He said the ones that go this long usually get that way because they get comfortable. Stop being careful. That's how they get caught. Cole Andrews, the guy from the casino, regional sales director for a medical device company out of Greensboro, made about $220 a year plus bonuses, married 15 years, twin boys, age 12. My wife had been seeing him for almost 2.5 years since that conference in Raleigh. Shane pulled phone records with a court order Dana helped get, cross-referenced locations, built a timeline, over 4,000 texts between them, hundreds of calls. But the real find was the secret email account. She had a Gmail she only used to talk to him. Shane found it through data recovery on her old laptop she'd traded in. The email spelled out everything: logistics, flight details when he traveled, hotel bookings, and one email that changed everything, dated about 6 weeks before I caught her. She wrote that she was getting tired of sneaking around, said she was thinking about leaving me, but not yet. She wanted to wait a little longer, build up more equity in the house, let me pay down more of the mortgage. Then she'd file and take her half. Her exact words, I want to make sure I get everything I'm entitled to before I make my move. This wasn't just an affair, it was an exit strategy. She was running out the clock, trying to build up more assets to split, and I was the one paying for it. Every mortgage payment, every trip I thought she was taking with friends, every dinner out while she was texting him. I was bankrolling her plan to leave me the whole time. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Her boyfriend Cole had no intention of leaving his wife. My wife thought she was trading up, thought she'd take half my stuff and ride off into the sunset with her rich boyfriend. She was wrong. He was using her the same way she was using me, just for different reasons. She was about to lose everything for a man who was never going to choose her. She just didn't know it yet. Jenna flew back from wherever she really went that weekend. Tried to come home Sunday night. I was sitting in the living room when she walked in with her suitcase. She started with the apologies, the tears, saying she could explain, saying it wasn't what I thought, saying she loved me and we could work through this. I let her talk. Then I told her I'd already spoken to a lawyer, already hired a private investigator, already knew about Cole Andrews and the 2.5 years of lies. She just sat down and put her face in her hands. I told her she could stay in the guest room until we figured out the next steps. But we were done. She moved out 3 days later, went to stay with her sister in Matthews. I filed the next week in Mecklenburg County Family Court, adultery, separation due to fault. Dana laid out the case, said we had more than enough evidence, said alimony was off the table, but she warned me about the house. Adultery bars spousal support in North Carolina, but it doesn't automatically affect property division. The house is marital property, both names on the deed. She still gets her share of the equity. That's how the law works. Dana said the judge might give me a slightly bigger percentage because of the circumstances, but it wasn't going to be some huge windfall. I had to accept that. Jenna's lawyer came in swinging anyway, asked for half the house equity, half my retirement account, $800 a month in alimony for 2 years. I did the math in my head, about 19 grand total, for a woman who'd spent over 2 years lying to my face and sleeping with another man. Dana didn't argue, just opened the folder, put the evidence on the table, casino receipts from multiple weekends, phone records showing thousands of texts and calls, the emails, including the one about building up equity before making her move. Jenna's lawyer's whole attitude changed. My wife started crying, not sad crying, scared crying. She knew what she was looking at. Every lie documented, every trip accounted for. There was no spinning this. Her lawyer asked for a recess. They were gone 45 minutes. I sat there with Dana. She said this was usually where reality sets in, said most people don't realize how exposed they are until they see it all laid out in black and white. Said Jenna was probably getting a very unpleasant education. Right about now? She was right. When they came back, my wife looked like she'd aged 5 years. Her lawyer looked tired. Everything changed after that. She dropped the alimony request, dropped the claim on my retirement, just wanted her share of the house and out. Because she knew what happens if this goes to trial. Everything becomes public record. Her family finds out the details. Her job finds out. And Cole's wife definitely finds out. We settled in October, 5 months after I caught them. Here's how it worked out. We sold the house. After realtor fees and paying off the mortgage, we each walked away with about $32,000. She kept her 401k, about $28,000. I kept mine, about $75,000. No alimony. North Carolina General Statute 50 to poor 16.3a. Adultery bars spousal support when it caused the separation. She walked away with maybe $60,000 total. After 3 years of marriage, after planning to take me for everything she could get, $60,000. But I wasn't done. Her boyfriend thought he could mess around with someone's wife for over 2 years and just walk away clean. He was wrong. I didn't call him, didn't threaten him. I wrote a letter to his wife, timeline of the affair, selected evidence, copies of some of the less explicit emails, sent it certified mail, let her draw her own conclusions. 2 months later, she filed for divorce in Guilford County. North Carolina's an equitable distribution state, but adultery affects everything. He's about to lose his house, half his retirement, and pay alimony to boot, all because he thought actions don't have consequences. The legal part was over, but rebuilding took time. First few months were the hardest, coming home to an empty house every night, no one to talk to about work, no one to watch TV with. I thought about calling her a dozen times, not to get back together, just to have someone familiar to talk to. But I knew better. That's how guys get sucked back into bad situations. I kept myself busy, picked up extra weekend jobs, started working out again, hadn't been to the gym regular in 2 years. Jenna always complained it took too much time, said I should spend evenings with her instead. Looking back, she just didn't want me in good shape. Easier to control a guy who's gotten comfortable. I started hitting the weights hard, lost 20 pounds, built muscle I hadn't had since my 20s, joined a softball league through the union. Thursday nights at the park in Huntersville, beer after the games, made some new friends who didn't know my whole story. Just knew me as Brady the electrician who could hit cleanup and turn a double play. That felt good, being known for something other than being the guy whose wife cheated. It's been 8 months since the divorce was finalized. I'm renting a place in Matthews now. 2 bedrooms, decent neighborhood, no memories of her in these walls. That's worth something. My ex moved back in with her parents after her sister got tired of the drama. The law firm cut her hours back when word got around about the affair. Turns out professional reputations matter in that world. Last I heard, she's working part-time at some other office, making about half what she used to. And her rich boyfriend? He stopped returning her calls the day his wife filed. She threw away her marriage for a man who ghosted her the minute things got complicated. She texted me once, about 2 months after everything was final, said she missed me, said it was the biggest mistake of her life, asked if we could talk. I blocked her number. Once you get to the point of complete indifference, it's over. She made her choices, he made his. I just made sure those choices had consequences. Some people call that revenge. I call it accountability. There's a difference. Here's what I want you to take from this. Know your state's laws before you need them. Know if fault grounds exist. Know how adultery affects alimony and property division. Know what's in whose name, how long you've been married, all of it matters. What seems like boring legal stuff becomes everything when you're in the middle of a divorce. North Carolina saved me from paying alimony, but I still had to split the house. That's how the law works. If I'd been in California, I'd be writing her checks every month on top of losing half of everything. Same betrayal, same lies, different state, different outcome. A few hours of research probably saved me $15,000, $20,000 in the long run. Do the research and trust your gut. When something feels off, it usually is. I ignored small signs for months. The phone always face down, the way she'd leave the room for certain calls, the sudden interest in girls' trips after years of being a homebody. I told myself I was being paranoid. I wasn't paranoid. I was right. She went on a girls' trip. Except she wasn't with the girls. She was meeting a man she thought was her ticket to a better life. One text from a buddy blew it up. One credit card charge confirmed it. One surprise visit to a casino ended it. She went on a girls' trip. She came back divorced, with less than she started with. And the rich boyfriend who was supposed to save her? He's losing his house and his family, and my ex is alone, working part-time, living with her parents. Pay attention to the patterns. Document everything. Don't confront without proof. And when you have proof, move smart. Don't do anything that can hurt your case. Get a good lawyer. Know your state's laws. And when it's over, don't look back. That's how you handle betrayal the right way. But there's something else I want you to understand about all this. Something I didn't fully grasp until months after everything was settled. This whole experience taught me something about people that I wish I'd learned earlier. See, when Jenna was planning her exit strategy, when she was calculating how much equity she could squeeze out of our house, when she was lying to both me and her friends to cover her tracks, she thought she was the smart one. She thought she had it all figured out. She was playing chess while I was playing checkers, or so she believed. What she didn't understand is that people like her always underestimate people like me. Working guys like me, we might not have fancy college degrees or know how to talk smooth at cocktail parties, but we understand something that people like her and Cole never learned. We understand that everything you build has to have a solid foundation. You can't wire a house with shortcuts. You can't run conduit through walls that aren't square. And you can't build a life on lies and expect it to hold up when the storms come. Jenna spent 2.5 years thinking she was building something better for herself, but she was building on sand. Every lie was another crack in the foundation. Every secret meeting was more dry rot in the structure. She thought she was being clever, but she was actually setting herself up for the biggest collapse of her life. And Cole? He thought he could have his cake and eat it too. Successful businessman by day, playing house with someone else's wife on weekends. He thought his money and his smooth talk made him untouchable. What he didn't count on was that his actions would eventually find their way back to someone who cared more about accountability than keeping the peace. That's the thing about consequences. They don't care about your title or your bank account or how clever you think you are. They just care about what you did. And both of them did plenty. I'm not gonna pretend this whole thing didn't change me. It did. I'm more careful now, more aware of red flags, more willing to trust my gut when something doesn't feel right. But I'm also more confident, more sure of who I am and what I'm worth. I spent 3 years with someone who was constantly looking for something better, and that does something to your self-esteem. Makes you wonder what's wrong with you. Now I know there wasn't nothing wrong with me. I was just married to someone who was never going to be satisfied with what we had because she wasn't capable of appreciating it. Some people are like that, always looking over the fence at the neighbor's grass, never realizing that if you don't water your own lawn, it's going to die no matter how green everything else looks. I water my own lawn now, literally and figuratively. I take care of my house, my health, my friendships, my work. I don't wait for someone else to make me happy or give my life meaning. That's not their job, that's mine. And I'm pretty good at it when I put my mind to it. The funny thing is, I'm happier now than I was in the last year of my marriage. Even with all the upheaval, even with starting over at 36, even with having to rebuild everything from scratch. Because everything I'm building now is built on solid ground. No lies, no deception, no wondering if the person sleeping next to me is planning their exit strategy. There's peace in that, real peace. The kind you can't get when you're living with someone who's already got one foot out the door. I sleep better now. Work better. Hell, Even my softball game has improved since I stopped carrying around all that stress and suspicion. So, here's my final piece of advice for any guy who might be where I was 8 months ago. If your gut's telling you something's wrong, listen to it. Don't make excuses for behavior that doesn't make sense. Don't convince yourself you're being paranoid when you're actually being observant. And don't stay in a situation that's slowly killing your spirit just because you're afraid of what you might find if you dig deeper. Because here's the truth, nobody wants to tell you. Sometimes digging deeper is exactly what saves your life. Sometimes finding out the worst thing you can imagine is actually the first step toward finding something better than you ever thought possible. The truth might hurt like hell in the moment, but lies will kill you slowly over years. Take it from a guy who knows. She went on a girls' trip and came back divorced. And that turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to both of us. She just doesn't know it yet. Trust your instincts. They're usually right. And when they are, act on them. Because the life you save might be your own.